Hello, class. This is Mrs. Poffenberger, and today we're going to go over why biology is important to learn about. So before we get into all of our main units on biology, we're first just going to talk about why it's so important. Every year, this is said to me by at least one student. I'm never going to use biology. Why do I have to learn about this? And every time it blows my mind because biology is a course that is so relevant to you. It is about living things. It's about you, how your body functions, how everything works, why you look the way you do. So today we're going to go through some of the questions about biology to see how important and relevant biology is to your life. First off, biology allows us to take so many things for granted. For instance, every time you take in a breath, you're taking in oxygen, and that oxygen is used in combination with the food that we eat to break that food down into energy for our body to use. And we take that for granted, but that is biology. So starting off with some questions. So number one, what are you? Well, you are a living thing, and biology is the science of you. Biology helps us understand how our body works and functions from the microscopic level to the macroscopic level, meaning from very, very small things like cells to large things like organs and organ systems and organisms. Second question you need to ask, do you want to live a long, healthy life? If so, you really need to have a good understanding of biology. Our nutrition, knowing what to eat in order to support our body and perform at its best ability, that all deals with biology, how the foods we eat are going to interact with our cells and how nutrients are used in all the processes in our body. Exercise is going to help us live a long, healthy life. And the process of exercise is rooted in biology. So how taking in more oxygen supports the body, how moving our muscles is going to break down food and sugar in the body and not have an excess of body fat. And then preventing diseases. Right now, we definitely know about diseases, especially viruses, and biology is extremely important in that. Understanding how a virus works, how it replicates, how we can prevent it from being spread, how we can cure a person from that virus, and how we can prevent that person from getting a virus. All of that is rooted in biology. On the next 3 slides, we're going to look at 3 maps looking at the life expectancy in the United States during 3 different time periods. So our first map here is from 1800. And the life expectancy in 1800, the global average was 29 years. The average in the US was 35 years. So the average person was expected to live to be 35 years old. The reason for that low number was due to high infant mortality rates. So meaning a lot of children died before the age of 5. So somebody might live to the age of 71, but if a baby died at the age of 1, if you average those two together, that gives a life expectancy average of 35 years. So in 1800, life expectancy was not very good. In 1950, this map is showing 1950, we can see that the life expectancy in the US increased dramatically. Okay, it increased to 68 years old. So from 35 in 1800 to 68 in 1950. And the main reason was that is because we have lower rates of infant mortality in 1950 than we did in 1800. The global average in 1950 is still decently low at 46, and that's because we have a lot of underdeveloped countries here that do not have good medical care, and their infant mortality rates were very high. And then if we look at the life expectancy in 2015, we can now see in the United States it jumped to 79 years. Okay, so just in a matter of 65 years, it went from a life expectancy of 68 to a life expectancy of 79. So it jumped 11 years in life expectancy in just a 65-year time period. And the reason for that, again, is because lower rates of infant mortality. So if you talk to anyone you know, you most likely do not know of a child that died before the age of 5. In the 1800s, you would definitely know of children that died before the age of 5. You might have had it in your family. You might have had a child of your own die. So it was very, very common to occur back then, but today not very common at all. This graph is looking at global child mortality. So in the entire world, what is the percentage of likelihood of a child dying by the age of 5? In 1800, the global child mortality rate was 43%. So that was close to almost half of the children that were born would die before the age of 5. And if we look in 2016, that number went down to 4%. Okay, which still seems pretty high, but this is a global child mortality, so there are still a lot of underdeveloped countries that don't have vaccinations, good medical care, good prenatal care, so that is still higher than it really should be. But it has dramatically lowered from that 43% in 1800 to the 4% in 2016. And then if we look at child mortality in the United States, so from 1933, it was right about 7% infant mortality, so meaning 7% of children died before the age of 5. In 1950, it went down to 3.8%, and then in 2016, we're now at 0.7%. So very few children are dying before the age of 5, which is obviously a very good thing. So why did I go over all these graphs and information on infant mortality? So infant mortality, those rates have decreased dramatically over the last 200 years because of biology. So all of the research and innovation and development of medications, vaccines, all of those things are because of biology and our understanding of it. So contagious diseases such as smallpox, which you probably don't even know what smallpox is because it's been eradicated and there hasn't been a case since the 1970s. Diphtheria, measles, meningitis, scarlet fever, whooping cough, influenza, which is the flu, and cholera. All of these contagious diseases killed many, many children 200 years ago. Nowadays, they hardly kill any children, and that's because we have developed vaccines to prevent the different viral diseases that are mentioned above, and then we also have antibiotics, which will treat a bacterial infection. So if you get a deadly bacteria as a child, you can get an antibiotic to help cure that. Also, we have very good prenatal care. So mothers, when they get pregnant, they will go to their OBGYN. They will get very good prenatal care and monitoring during their pregnancy. And lastly, we have better nutrition, and that's also because of biology. Better nutrition because we have more availability of food and crops, and we are able to get all the nutrients that we need to get from our food. And that's, again, because of biology. The next two graphs that we're going to look at are healthy life expectancy and years lived with disability. So globally, the healthy life expectancy, meaning the amount of years you will live without being disabled in your later life, globally that's 63 years. The years lived with disability globally is about 9 years. So that means the last 9 years of your life, most likely on average, you will live with disability. And then the total life expectancy average globally is 72 years. So, if you're me, I really want to get this number very low and this number very high. And we can do that through biology, as we'll see here in a second. If we look at the United States, our years with disability are actually more than the global average. So our years with disability are 11.6. So that means on average, the last 11 years of an American's life is lived with decreased physical ability to do things. So those two graphs lead us into the next question. Do you want to prevent yourself and your loved ones from getting cancer, diabetes, heart disease, etc.? Because all of those things can cause you to then live with years of disability. If so, you really need to have an understanding of biology. and a good understanding of nutrition, what foods can do for our body, and how they can keep us healthy, and exercise. So in terms of nutrition, fruits and vegetables contain a lot of antioxidants and things called phytochemicals. These are very important molecules that help to get rid of cancer, not really cancer, but get rid of cancer-causing molecules called free radicals, which are in the body, which can mutate our DNA. So these antioxidants and phytochemicals help to get rid of those. And then exercise controls your blood sugar, your blood pressure, and your cholesterol levels. So very, very good for the heart, very good for preventing diabetes. So what if you or a loved one gets diagnosed with cancer, diabetes, or heart disease? What do you do? Well, you're going to go to your doctor, of course, but you need to make sure you're understanding what your doctor's telling you and why the doctor's telling you to do that. And being able to understand what your doctor's telling you, you need to have a strong understanding of biology. You also need to be able to know how to research to fight and reverse those particular diseases, which requires a large background or strong background in biology. And you need to understand what's going on and happening in your body, how you can fix it. And that also requires a background in biology. And you also need to be an advocate for yourself. And if you blindly just go with what your doctor's telling you, that might be okay, but they might be missing something because they don't totally know your body like you do. So if you have a strong understanding of biology, that will help you be an advocate for yourself. So if you or a loved one is diagnosed with cancer, you need to be able to answer these questions. So what is cancer? What are the treatments for cancer? How do the treatments work? And in order to answer those particular questions, you need to have a strong understanding of cells, how the immune system works, the cell cycle, DNA, genetics, angiogenesis, mutagens, and mutations. And a lot of those words probably look foreign. You probably don't know the meaning of them. You probably don't know what they mean. All of those terms and words deal with biology. So again, it's extremely important to make sure you have an understanding of biology. And if you or a loved one gets diagnosed with diabetes, you need to be able to answer, what is diabetes? What are the treatments for diabetes? What type do you have? Can it be reversed? And in order to answer those questions, you need to have a strong understanding of cells, hormones, particularly insulin, the pancreas, the immune system, and different lifestyle choices that you need to make and how they affect your body. And again, all of those deal with biology. So if you don't have a strong understanding of those, then you're not going to be able to talk with your doctor and go through all the processes that you need to with your diabetes diagnosis. And if someone in your family or yourself is diagnosed with heart disease, you need to be able to answer, what is heart disease? How does it occur? What are the treatments for it? Can it be reversed? And to answer those, you need to have a strong understanding of cells, chronic stress and how it affects the body, atherosclerosis, the lifestyle choices you make and how they affect your heart, cholesterol, and blood pressure. And again, all of those require you being able to understand biology. They all deal with biology. And question number 5, do you want to have healthy, happy children in the future? Do you want them to develop to the best of their genetic ability? If so, you need to understand biology. You need to understand the role that nutrition plays in their development. So children need to make sure that they are getting enough omega-3s and DHA in their diet because that's very important in brain development. And if children do not get adequate nutrition, it will affect their physical and mental development. So it will affect them throughout their entire life. Also, it's very important that children get enough exercise, 60 minutes a day, because that increases blood flow throughout the body, which improves their development as well. Okay, so this ends part 1 of our discussion and lesson on why biology is important. So go ahead and go to your next video, part 2, to finish the lesson. We'll see you around.